Hello, my dear students, and welcome back. Your exams are just around the corner, so you know what that means. It's time to tackle another super important chapter. Today, it's all about land resources and agriculture. Let's make sure you feel totally confident and ready for this one.
Just think about it for a second. Every single chapati or every grain of rice on your plate, where does it come from? It all starts with our land, our zameen. And this chapter, Beta, is the story of that whole journey. And trust me, it's not just about marks. It's about understanding the very heart of our country. So let's dive right in.
All right, so we're going to break this chapter down into 4 simple parts. First up, how we actually use our land. Then we'll get into Farming 101, the different seasons and types. After that, a quick tour of India's biggest crops. And finally, we'll look at the big picture, the changes and challenges our farmers are facing. See, following this structure will make it so much easier to remember everything for your exams.
Okay, let's get started with part 1. To really understand farming, we first have to understand the land itself. How is it even classified? What is it being used for? Let's find out. So officially, there are actually 9 different categories for land use. But for our exam, let's just focus on the most important ones. Now, I want you to pay really close attention to these 2, net area sown, which is our actual farmland, and fallow lands. These are the concepts that, they just pop up in questions all the time. So let's start with net sown area. It's actually very simple. This is the physical land where farmers are sowing seeds and harvesting their crops within a single year. You can think of it as the real powerhouse of India's food production. This is where all our food actually comes from.
Okay, so what in the world is fallow land? Well, imagine this. You've been studying for hours and you absolutely need a short break to refresh your mind, right? Fallow land is just like that. It's basically farmland that's taking a little break. Farmers leave it uncultivated for a season so that it can naturally get its nutrients back. Simple. Now, this is a very, very important concept. Common Property Resources, or CPRs. Basically, these are lands that are owned by the whole community, like the village panchayat. Think of a village pasture where anyone can take their cattle to graze. This land is an absolute lifeline, especially for landless farmers who really depend on it for animal fodder and fuel. Excellent! We've got a handle on the land. Now let's see when and how we actually farm on it. And this brings us to part 2, the different cropping seasons and the main types of farming. Okay, students, get your notebooks out. This table right here is a Pukka exam question. I can almost guarantee it. So we have 3 main seasons. Kharif, which is the monsoon season, is for crops like rice. Rabi, the winter season, is for wheat. And then there's a short summer season called Zaid for things like vegetables and fruits. Just remember the season and maybe 1 or 2 major crops for each, and you'll be all set.
Chalo, time for a quick revision question. Is wheat a Kharif crop or a Rabi crop? Think about it. Yes, you got it. It's a Rabi crop because it's sown in the winter. See? Simple.
Here's another classic exam topic, the different farming types based on water. So you've got dryland farming for areas with less rainfall, like in Rajasthan, where they grow crops that don't need much water, like bajra. And then you have wetland farming, which is for areas with plenty of water, where they can grow those thirsty crops like rice and sugarcane. All right, get ready for a super fast tour of India's food basket. In these next few slides, I really want you to pay close attention to the maps. Creating a little mental picture of where each crop grows is going to help you so much when you're revising. First up, we have rice, the main food for most people in India. It's a Kharif crop, which means it's grown during the monsoon. And as you can see on the map here, it's really concentrated in the high rainfall areas of the east, the south, and all along the coasts. Next is wheat, the absolute king of the Rabi season. This is what's used for your daily chapati and bread. It needs cool weather, so it's grown in the winter. And just look at that map. It's the superstar of the northern plains, in states like Punjab, Haryana, and UP. So from food, let's switch over to fiber. Let's talk about cotton. All our comfy clothes come from this plant. It's a Kharif crop, and it absolutely loves the black soil of the Deccan Plateau. As the map shows, the main areas are in the west, in places like Gujarat and Maharashtra. And now for something sweet, sugarcane. It's a thirsty tropical crop. And the 2 major producing regions, as you can clearly see, are the plains of Uttar Pradesh and the fields of Maharashtra.
Okay, so we've seen the land, the seasons, and the crops. Now it's time for our final section, the big picture. Here, we're going to look at the major changes and, importantly, the challenges in Indian agriculture. Pay close attention to this part. It's very important for those long answer questions.
This chart here tells a really powerful story. The blue bar shows the land that's being used for things other than farming, like buildings and roads. See how much it's increased since the 1950s? Well, this development often happens on what used to be wasteland, and that's why you see that category has shrunk. The key takeaway is really simple. As India develops, the very ground beneath our feet changes.
Now, let's talk about the problems. The biggest one, even today, is how much we depend on the monsoon. Only about 1/3 of our farmland is irrigated, which means the rest is completely at the mercy of the rains. A weak monsoon can mean drought, a heavy monsoon can mean floods. It's a massive, massive challenge for our farmers. And the second major problem is the size of the farms. Just imagine, a farmer divides his land among his 4 sons. Then they, in turn, divide it among their children. You see what's happening? Over generations, the farms become tiny and scattered all over the place. And these small, fragmented plots are just very difficult and inefficient to farm with modern machines like tractors. And believe me, the challenges don't end there. Our crop yield per hectare is actually quite low compared to other countries. This means we're getting less food from the same amount of land. So many small farmers are trapped in a cycle of debt, forced to borrow money for expensive seeds and fertilizers. And the irony is, using too many of these chemicals is slowly degrading the health of our soil for the future. But it's not all challenges. The biggest success story by far is the Green Revolution. You see, back in the 1960s, India was facing a severe food crisis. But by introducing new high-yielding seeds, fertilizers, and better irrigation, we dramatically increased our food production, especially wheat and rice. It was an amazing effort that made our country self-sufficient. And that really brings us to today. We've come such a long way, but the journey is definitely not over. We have more people to feed than ever before, and our farmers are still facing these huge challenges. So this leaves us with a final important question to think about. What new ideas and technologies can make Indian agriculture stronger and more sustainable for our future? And that's all for this chapter, my dear students. I really hope this summary helps you with your revision. Make sure you review your notes, look at those maps again, and I know you will do wonderfully. All the very best for your exams. I'll see you in the next explainer. Keep learning.